Hello, hello. I'm so honored to be here virtually with Julieta Ortiz, who has for a long time done amazing programming with One Community Arkansas and just been a pillar of like what it means to have like a Latinx community here in Northwest Arkansas. Julieta, thanks so much for taking this time to like share more about yourself and what you do with the Multicultural Center's newsletter, The Insider. Before we like talk more about like what your day-to-day activities are with One Community Arkansas, I wanted to ask you what brought you to Arkansas and like at what stage of it was with like Latinx
Oh,
immigration here? Because there's been so many different eras of this, right?
yes, yes. Okay, let's go back to the 1990s. Back in 1997, well, originally I'm from Mexico City. I was born in Mexico, but at age 7, my parents migrated to California. So we were in California for about 8 years. My parents were farm workers, field workers, strawberry and all that. And then they found out by a friend that Arkansas, what's the next big thing? It was better than California, and there were better jobs. So my parents came to see Arkansas first by themselves, and then they went back to get us, and then we came with them in 1997, at the end of 97. So I was 15 years old, and oh gosh, I can still remember. I think I was depressed for 2 years because
Mhm.
the big change of the culture and things here in Arkansas were very different. They were not like it is now in 2024, 1997, 1998. It was really hard. It was difficult. There was not a lot of Latinos, Latinx communities here. We were really rare. In high school, it was tough because it was different from me coming from a place where you would see Latinos everywhere, and here it was we were rare, and the treatment was very different and difficult for
Mhm.
me. But that's how I came to Arkansas. My parents.
Mhm. Wow. And to move here like at 15, which is like such a pivotal like time in your life,
Oh,
there's so many changes happening.
yes.
Working at a university, the University of Arkansas, we talk a lot about how do we build pathways from high school to college here for our Latinx students in the region. And just like I imagine back then there wasn't even like pathways really, not
No.
examples like that. I guess like
Yes.
whenever it was that time for you to like finish up high school and think of what's next, what were the options you were weighing? Like, did you have any
Oh,
peers in your life to look up to? Mm-hmm.
well, you know what? There were not many options that I knew of because I think it comes back, or maybe falls back on our culture, that we come to another country and we think that we cannot pursue a higher education here, and that the like the highest that we can go is high school. And our parents always tell us, just finish high school and then get a job. So I didn't really think I had options because my parents they were never involved in the school system because of the barriers, culture barriers and language barriers. So they didn't know the opportunities. They didn't know we had opportunities also. Or that there was financial aid or other ways to pursue a higher education. So for me, but I knew I wanted it more, and I couldn't believe that I couldn't continue a higher education. I really wanted it to do more. So the options for me were the military. So I ended up joining the military just to pursue an education.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And I know of like I can think of a friend right now who like it sounds like what you just shared sounds similar to her story, and she's currently in
Uh-huh.
the military right now because that was her pathway to access college education. So
Mm-hmm.
it still continues to be like a
It's
phenomenon.
still,
Yeah,
yes,
Latinas and Latinos and Latinas in high school right now, like what are the
yes.
pathways you could have? Um yeah, I mean go jumping into like I guess like One Community Arkansas, when did it start and what was like the story around its impetus?
For one community?
Mhm.
Okay, here we go. When I was
Mhm.
in high school, I had this teacher. Her
Mhm.
name is Diana Gonzalez Worden, which she's now a doctor, Dr. Diana Gonzalez Worden. She was my
Mhm.
science teacher, but she was an
Mhm.
ESL teacher. Since I knew English already, I kind of tried to snuck into her class, but then I was kicked out because I didn't need to be in ESL. but that's how I met her, and she's one of the co-founders of One Community. She actually saw the struggle back then in the 90s that we were having, the families, the struggle of the barriers, the communication, culture, and things were very different here. We were rare and people didn't see us very, very well. I don't want to say discriminate, but there was a lot of discrimination back then. So
Mm-hmm.
seeing that and being a teacher, she started to see how to help us.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on, she created a nonprofit with women that were also Latina women back then that felt that they need to create a group to open the pathways for the Latino community. The woman is a woman, Hispanic women's organization, but then she continued and she left that, and then she co-founded One Community in 2009 alongside with Papa Rap. He was also part of the school district. He was a
Mm-hmm.
liaison. He helped us a lot back then. So they knew the community, they knew the struggle, so they created a curriculum that would help parents, specifically immigrant parents, to navigate the school system.
Mm-hmm.
So us or the children could get opportunities, so we could be more, or they could be more engaged in our education, and they could guide us to get an education. So that was the base of One Community back in 2009, and they started a program for parents, which is PTLA, Parents Taking Leadership in Action,
Mm-hmm.
and it focuses on empowering the Latinx community here in Northwest Arkansas through education and outreach. We partner with schools, businesses, or any organization that there are key issues to access to education, or any opportunity that the Latino families can take advantage of.
Mm-hmm. Wow. There's a lot that you touched on, and it might want to go in multiple different directions. I guess I'll just pick one. You touched on
Mm-hmm.
like there being more overt discrimination, like we're
Yes.
talking in the late 90s and 2000s, and I was thinking
Uh-huh.
about like what I've heard about the 2006 like Day Without an Immigrant movements, right? And like
Yes.
I was so astounded to see photos of the actions in Springdale, Arkansas, like in Murphy Park, and like thousands of people showed up back then. And
Yeah.
I was also told that there was like some KKK members that showed up like as a reaction to that. I guess like could you share from your personal experience of like being a Latina like around that time?
Oh,
Just more
yes.
insight into what it could be like. I think it's important for us in my generation to like
Mm-hmm.
know where we had to go through.
Through that. You know what? Something that really marked me back in 1998, when I was in eighth grade, I was still in junior high back then. I love singing. That was also a part of, I also pursued a singing career. So I joined the choir, and I was the only Latina in the choir, but the teacher was not used to persons like me looking brown and being Latina. So I struggled a lot in that class, and eventually she kind of kicked me out. And I remember one day that we were going to a concert and I was late because we didn't have transportation. So my mom took me. She kind of rode the bicycle and I was with her. And she took me and I was late. Everyone was in the bus. And then I went to the bus and she's like, no, you're not allowed. You're out. You're late. And then I tried to explain that we didn't have transportation and my mom she was working and she did what she could to get me there on time. And she's like, no, take your shirt off. Then I had to take the shirt off and I gave it back to them. I got off the bus and my mom was standing there watching. And of course I didn't tell her exactly what the teacher told me. I didn't want her to feel bad, so I told her, oh, I made something up. I made an excuse.
Mm,
So they left. That was the end of my singing. So that kind of killed my dream of wanting to be a singer for a while. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave that. So and then I started looking into the military after high school. But that impacted me a lot. And it's still to this day, it's like, oh, I can't believe I went through that. And looking at things now in 2024, I really feel good that things have changed.
hmm hmm Yeah, I think I look at like the young Latinx students that come through the multicultural center, and a lot of them have such a pride instilled from them from a young age
Yes.
and where they come from and in their roots, and it's celebrating that. Like in the past year, we've had two registered student organizations founded. One is the Mexican American Student Association, the other
Uh-huh.
one's the Central American Student Alliance. and both of them are still active on campus and do a lot of events with our Latin American based organizations like the Panamanian students and the
Uh-huh.
Bolivian students.
Wow.
So it's just really heartening to see where that students are already coming to us with that pride in them and that they're spreading
Mm-hmm.
that pride to others. And you know, that experience you share is like so vulnerable and it's like so
Yeah.
unfortunate, you know. I think something else known about you, Julieta, is that your career with Duo Divinas, right?
Yes,
I
yes.
I was able to see y'all perform. I think it was two times. Once it was on Live in America,
Mm-hmm.
momentary. So that was like a couple years ago. And then another time, I believe it was a Dia de los Muertos celebration in Springdale, and I'm
Downtown.
forgetting
We
on the year.
we also did at the Multicultural Center at the U of A one time.
Wait, when was that? Do you remember?
I think it was 2018, around 18 or
Wow.
17. Yes.
So could you share with people who don't know about Duo Divinas, how did you found the
Yes.
duo
So
and
after I joined the military and getting, I ended my contract. So I kind of went back to my dream, my singing dream. So it was in Washington D.C., the Virginia area. That's where I was stationed in the in the Marines. So that's where I met Azucena, and then she taught me how to sing again. She gave me the confidence that I lost back then with my teacher here at Oakdale. So she gave me the confidence and I started practicing again and then we started singing together and she liked the way it sounded. I liked the way and she gave me the courage to be part of it and that we never stopped. And then we moved to Arkansas. I moved back to Arkansas and we continued singing here. And we were singing for a lot of years. Probably we moved back here in 2012. So since 2012, we started singing here everywhere mariachi, and then we transitioned to being songwriters. And we were struggling with feeling included, with belonging here, until one of the organizations which is the House of Songs, they invited us to be part of a musicians retreat where they support songwriters. So they asked us a question: Do you feel that you belong here in Northwest Arkansas? And we were like, we're like, we don't feel that we belong. But after the experience that we had in that house for 3 days and being the only Latinas, and they accepted us, they accepted our music in Spanish, and they said, "Oh no, it's okay. We like to be inclusive. Music, it's a universal language." That's when everything changed for us. That invitation, accepting us for what we had and celebrate our language and culture, made us feel that we belonged in Northwest Arkansas. And that decision changed everything for me and for also for Azucena. After that, I felt like belong here and I wanted to be part of the community and it broke something. It broke something that felt that it was like a barrier. It was a barrier. Although I was living here and I was raised here, I didn't feel like I belonged in this country. And or Northwest Arkansas, I was like, no, I didn't know where I belonged
Mhm.
before that. But now I know I belong here because now someone made me belong and broke that barrier. And it's a barrier that we all have in our minds. And that led me to working with one community. And I want to bring the same thing. I went through that and I know it's only a mental barrier. And once it's broken, we can really enjoy being part of this beautiful community, the diversity, the cultures are around Northwest Arkansas.
Mhm. Wow. Oh my goodness. To get some clarity, is Dua Lipa is like, are y'all on hiatus right now? Or I think I remember I went to a concert where y'all were saying it was like one of the last in a while. Are y'all on hiatus?
You know what? I took a break and it was because of me. Through music, I was invited to Arkansas Salsa Fest, the fundraiser event that one community has every year to fundraise funds for the programs. And my teacher is being a founder, we reconnected and she's like, "Oh, Julieta, you sing. We want you to be a part of Arkansas Salsa." So we participated in 2022 and they needed help with advertisement, social media. And since I know that through music, I offered them my help and I volunteered to help with social media and advertisement and some design. And then through that, I followed Dr. Diana Gonzalez, and then I found out about one community and the work she was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So when I followed her to a school, I saw the parents, the immigrant families. It was their first day. They were sitting there. It was like 8 parents, and it was like 13 children. And they were starting this new program that was gonna teach them how to navigate the school system so they can guide the children. And I saw the children, and that it hit me right there. I was like, I want to be part of this. I was one of them one time. I didn't have the opportunity that these children have now. And I think more families need to be part of this. I didn't think it was enough. Parents, I thought to myself, this has to be in every school because I went through, I know what it feels and I've been through it. So, I decided to work part-time as an admin to help out. But that admin turned into becoming the director of operations and now has become into being the executive director of the organization. I'm in training. So that's why I made the decision. I had to make a decision, music or this. And I love music and I'm going to continue doing as much as I can as a hobby because it's part of me. But right now, I'm really focused with this mission in one community and making it grow because I think a lot of families can benefit from this, from the programs.
Well, that sounds like you really had to like listen to your intuition,
Yes.
and I think your story speaks to like there's different seasons in life for
Yes,
different things that you want to do, and
exactly.
because you say no to something in the moment, it can be yes in the future, and vice
Mm-hmm.
versa, right?
Yes.
I think like I'm thinking about some conversations I've had with like Latino and Latina students at the U of A where they tell me that they wish they could have picked like the liberal arts or like a major in the School of Art or music to study,
Uh-huh.
but they feel pressured because they're the first generation college student and they have to
Mm-hmm.
pick something that is lucrative. And
Yes.
so I feel like that still is an impediment, something that exists in a lot of Latino college students' minds inevitably because of structurally based like economic inequality.
Exactly.
Talk about Hispanic, Latinx communities. But I think your story also talks to like, oh, if you do follow your passion, it can lead you to
Mm-hmm.
somewhere where you need to be. I
Yes.
guess like, did you ever feel at one point like the pressure to like stop dedicating yourself as much as you wanted to music because of how the pressure of like making money and like the
Yes.
starving artist fear, you know? How was that?
Definitely.
Hmm.
Yes. You know, I don't know for Latino families, my mom was like, music is not for women. I mean, the danger is in music, in the music industry. You're not gonna make enough money. You're not gonna make a living, and it worried me. But you know what? I really love music, and that's why I decided to go to college and study business. Said, okay, you're right. Then let me go see the business side because this is a business also. Art is amazing, but it also has a business part. And if I learn
Hmm.
that, maybe I can live. So I
Hmm.
did learn it. So and I did I learned how to deal with the business part. So I was making a living from it for a while, and then other aspects from like website design and other things. But you
Hmm.
know what? Singing is amazing, but it's still a struggle. That you have to do so many things just to be 1 hour on stage.
Hmm.
And being a woman is hard,
Hmm.
like 3 times more harder than
Hmm.
for a male. There's a lot of roadblocks, but it's still there. I mean, I love music, but it came to a point that I was missing something, that it was not enough for me, for my soul. I wanted to be part of something bigger. Music, I'm not saying music is not, I mean, it's a personal passion to express yourself, but I think all humans have that in us, the art part.
Hmm.
If you can, it's always there, but then you have this need of helping others or something, being part of something bigger. So I
Hmm.
always, after being singing for 16 years, I really needed something else. And
Hmm.
it came through music. One community came and now I think I can do both. I can
Hmm.
use music and it kind of merge it with the community part.
Mm, wow, wow. And like all along in your journey, you were just adding more tools to your toolkit.
Yes.
So it's just like it's all came to this one point. Um, I was wondering, in your current season, with One Community Arkansas and like homing it as an
Uh-huh.
organization, paraphrasing here, well, one of One Community's missions is to make the community feel one. What do you
Hmm.
think are current obstacles in 2024 that prevent the community from being one?
From what I see, the language is still a big thing, language
Mm,
barrier and the culture.
mm,
Uh, the culture is a big part because we have our culture and there's like a lot of cultures are in Norway Sark, it's very diverse, but the language is number one. Well, parents or families are afraid to ask for help because they don't know the language. And the other part is the culture. We do things differently and we take a different approach. So there's this gap. There's a gap. And one community is trying to be that bridge to get the parents to join one community, be part of a program, and then we kind of try to break those bridges or those barriers that they have. And it has worked tremendously. The impact in the families has been amazing from the time I've been there. What I've seen, and it's amazing to see how children are being more social. They're communicating, they're embracing their language and their culture because before that they thought that it was wrong to speak Spanish or it was wrong to be proud of their culture. And with the programs that we have, being bilingual, we always have both languages and we embrace both cultures and we try to make it as one. And Arkansas is this big party that we want to invite everyone and make it like a multicultural event where everyone can show their dance, their music, the food, and through music and through being like it's like a salsa, it's like salsa. A good salsa is made of ingredients, but each ingredient matters. And when it comes together, you get that tasty salsa. So that's how we see it. We all matter. We all important. That salsa part.
yeah. Oh, I love that metaphor. It's so fitting. And I also love how one community emphasizes like you'll have partner with Sin Limites before, which works with heritage speakers of Spanish, you know. So like oftentimes the
Yes.
children of the immigrants here. And then you also, if I'm correct, one community has programs to help educate people with like Spanish grammar, you know. So even the parents who maybe they
Yes.
didn't have like the privilege in some cases to go to school. Um
Hmm.
they can like
Yes.
get a handle on Spanish. And I really like how embracing of both cultures it is because I think about some of the studies I've seen. It's like eventually by 2050, like, you know, like there's gonna be so many Latinx people in this country.
Yes.
I think it's like 1 in 4 children that are born these days are Hispanic or Latinx, which is mind-boggling. Like soon the US is
Yes.
gonna have more Spanish speakers. Someone told me this, I need to fact check. More Spanish speakers in Mexico? What? Like by that's wild to me.
That's
So yeah, the future is bilingual for this country.
yes, it is. It is. It's bilingual,
Mm,
and you're having a lot of non-Spanish speakers learning Spanish.
hmm mm,
They're really also a lot of people, children and adults that they want to learn Spanish, and it's amazing that other cultures want to speak Spanish. And we still when we're trying to instill the Spanish in the children that were born here, and the parents, as parents, my parents did the same thing to me. They pushed us to speak English because they were afraid. They wanted us to learn the language so we didn't have to go through things here. And sadly, that made us forget some of the people. I didn't forget it. Think I don't know why I kept always my Spanish. I didn't, but I have family members that forgot Spanish. They don't speak
mhm,
Spanish at all
mhm,
because our parents pushed us to learn the language so we didn't have to struggle. But then you end up forgetting Spanish, and then the parents didn't learn English, and then you have those gaps of
mhm,
communication. That's why
mhm,
Sin Limites has been helpful for children because parents were concerned. They couldn't communicate with their children. The children were depressed, were having mental health problems. They were having bullying problems at school, but the kids couldn't communicate it to the parents, and they couldn't help them.
mhm,
And Sin Limites was successful because of that. Parents were bringing children and they want them to learn Spanish so they could communicate with them or the grandparents.
mhm, mhm. Wow. Yeah, like the bridges need to be built within the nuclear family a lot of times.
Yes.
with the gaps in language, it makes me think of this event that the Mexican American Student Association had last week, which
Mm-hmm.
was focused on just heritage speakers. And so they marketed it as like a low stakes, judgment-free conversation
Mm-hmm.
circle, only speak Spanish. And of course, like a veces nos sale un poco mucho el
Yeah.
español, right? But lo estamos intentando
Yeah,
de
but
¿verdad?
yeah.
Ujú. Y a veces nos la ingeniamos, ¿no? We come up with like a
The
Spanglish,
Spanglish.
different salsa is born from it. So
It's
yeah, I
hard
think
to be bilingual.
Mhm. Yeah, it is. I think it's like I think a lot of people feel insecure with the question of language, and I talk
Uh-huh.
to our Latin American international students, and les da como vergüenza hablar inglés
Yes.
a veces. So it's like it's felt on both sides.
Yeah.
I love the emphasis Arkansas also placed this past weekend on including just like a US Latinx feel, but also like more Latin American feel, and then also having our Marshallese neighbors
Mm-hmm.
farm too. That was beautiful. Yeah, I guess like is there this I was so scattered, but is there any like other comments you want to make on like um, just like the children of like the Latin American immigrants who might feel like, like shy to speak Spanish or to return back to them. Do you have any like encouraging words or yeah.
You know, those kids that are shy, it's all because I think it begins at home. Because
Mm,
the parents are so afraid and they push them to not speak Spanish, but that's because they don't know that actually the native language has to be spoken first at home. And then the second language can be learned easier outside. So they were kind of separating from our own culture because of
mm,
the barriers of language. So it's kind of it's contradictory, right? It
mm,
because we need to learn another language, we're kind of separating from our own language, but it's in the mindset. If the
mhm,
parents let the children know that Spanish is the native language and you speak Spanish here, once they know their language, native language, then out there it's going to be easier. So when you go to a school setting like the after school programs that we have, and they hear our facilitators speak Spanish, they're like, "Are you speaking Spanish in school? Do you have Spanish books? Because we bring Spanish books and bilingual books." So just by having facilitators at school speaking Spanish, they already accept the language as being okay to speak. And then we instill that in them. It's okay to speak, and if you're bilingual, you're powerful. It's like a superpower. Then you can help other kids that don't speak English. And then the kids start believe in that, and then they go back to class and they're like, oh, I speak two languages. And then they see other kids that don't speak English and they try to help them, and they're like, I can teach you, I can help you, I can translate for you. So actually being in the school setting, it kind of helps them lose that or break that barrier of the not being afraid of speaking Spanish. It
mm,
helps a lot. And then the summer bilingual program where you have all the families speaking both languages as a family, it makes it's like in the mindset. They start to believe, oh wait, it's. I think that we can. My mom's speaking Spanish. They're speaking Spanish,
mm,
and they're speaking English also. So it's okay to speak both languages.
mm, mhm. Wow. It's wild that we've come such a long way from like in theory, like schools being segregated, like
Yeah,
with the Mexican students not being allowed to go to the same school as white people in Texas, for example. And like they used to be corporal punishment for you to speak Spanish in the classroom. And it's
yeah.
crazy that like still that stigma can exist, but that's why
Stigma,
y'all are
yes,
very important.
yes.
I was thinking about what you said about the call to like be part of something bigger. Where do
Mm-hmm.
you think that desire comes from within you?
Oh, it comes from my personal story of growing up. I really witnessed the struggles in my family, the language, the limited access to resources, being overlooked in so many things, and that really hits me as I grow up. I was part of it, and then I see other kids. I see my nephews. I see children, and I really don't want them to be part of that. And if I have the opportunity to be part of preventing at least some of what the things I've been through. And it gives me the passion and the energy to keep fighting for this cause, because I think at the end, if there it's the responsibility of society and leaders that are aware of this to teach others and to help everyone else, because they're not aware. And you know what, you don't know what you don't know. But if you already know, then it's your responsibility to let them know that there is resources, that there's opportunities, and that we're here to help in anything that's preventing them to be part of the place that they live.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. To be part of the place where they live. Yeah, and that's like a big deal for like building like the future of like the Latinx presence here in Northwest Arkansas. I
Yeah.
remember I had the chance to have a conversation with Margarita Solorzano, the director of the
Uh-huh.
Hispanic Women's Organization of Arkansas, and she pointed out to me whenever she was looking back on like the different decades, right, of Latinx immigration here, that things started to be different whenever
Uh-huh.
people gave themselves permission to be part of the community, whenever people stopped like asking their family to when they pass, like, please send my body back to like my motherland. Instead, they were
Mm-hmm.
asking to be buried in Arkansas because we were making this place our home. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that was like whenever she noticed like a shift in like people thinking themselves as Arkansan or like setting down roots here. I guess like Hmm. My question, I'm curious about what are your thoughts on like what does it mean to be like from the South and from Arkansas? Like, do you see yourself like as an Arkansan? How does that play into your own identity?
Oh, I definitely see myself as an Arkansan now after being in the East, on the West, and having all these experiences in the military and music and being here. I mean, this is an amazing place to be. There is now, I mean, it has changed. It's been 30 years since it was different, but now I see so much here, so much growth, so much potential. I see a lot of resources. I see a lot of diversity, a lot of culture. It could be one of the most, like the number one place to be at in Northwest Arkansas. And I really, really now feel connected with Northwest Arkansas because this is the place where I've kind of put my roots. And now I feel like I belong here. And you know, when you feel like you belong, you you start sharing your talents and you start growing and reaching other people, and then you're starting to be you feel confident, and you grow with the people around you. You feel that you're part of them, and if something is wrong with him, it hurts you, and if you see someone in pain, you want to help them because you feel that it's your responsibility. You feel like one, right?
That's
And it makes me happy when I go to the University of Arkansas and I see Latino, Latinas, Latina everywhere on campus walking. And because we take our parents to the university, and they're also like really happy to see other Latinos and Latinas being at the University of Arkansas. And you see them more and more and more, and we're like, ah, yes, it's changing slowly, but it's changing. But we're gonna continue working so there's a higher percentage at the U of A of students of Latinos and Latinas.
Yeah, yeah, it's sort of hope. Slow change, but it's very steady, and it
Steady.
stuck out to me a lot. You work a lot with Rafa in admissions,
Yes,
to come bring students and parents directly and experience what it's like to be on this,
to be,
on a university campus, which is a predominantly white institution still, but there
yeah,
are definitely pockets where you can see the fingerprints of Latinx students and staff and faculty,
yeah.
and I think one of the highlights for me was like showing our student, like one of Rafa's like high school student groups, like the
Mm-hmm.
Sueños Portrait Gallery we did last year at the MC, just like the ways that you're empowered at the university to create something with a team that celebrates your
Mm-hmm.
Latinidad, your personal definition of what
Yes.
that could be. It's really beautiful, and I think the percentage keeps growing every year of Hispanic and Latinx students.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess
Yes.
like I have like a figure in my mind of like a high school student who can feel directionless a lot of times of like what do they want for their future. Sometimes their parents can't be as involved because they're really busy. A lot of the
Busy.
parents you work with are like that.
Yes.
I guess like what are some words of advice you might give to like a young like Latinx or not even Latinx, just like young high school students who may not have like adult presence in their life to like coach them all the time. Like how do they what should they be paying attention to know where to go, you know?
You know, reflecting back to myself, I mean, anything, just look. I mean, now there's more resources than ever. There's the internet, which is amazing. The internet, you can go anything. I
Hmm.
mean, get with organizations, nonprofits, volunteer.
Hmm.
Volunteering is very important, and that's like a big thing. Through volunteering, you can find out of all the resources around you, and then you can find probably you don't know yet what you want to become or what you want to be, but by volunteering, you see how the world is out here in Northwest Arkansas. You see how things work, and then for sure you'll find something that you're gonna be passionate about through community help, through volunteering. And if that, I think that's a way, that's like a number one, volunteering. You can find a lot of resources through volunteering. There's people that actually they want to help, and there's organizations, there's a lot of organizations here. There's other students that are willing to help also. And if you have your parents, just send them to one community and we'll help them help you get a better future.
Wonderful. And how can people who want to give of their time like that volunteering, are there currently any volunteer opportunities with one community that we should know about?
Yes, for with one community, you can always there's always opportunities throughout the school year. We have our after school programs, and it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The way you can volunteer is by helping the kids club because we have the parents learning English, ESL, and then they have this leadership program that teaches them everything about the school system and resources. And then the kids go to another class where they read bilingual books, and then teenagers or any volunteers can help with reading the books, English and Spanish. Or we have games, we have activities, cultural activities or cultural uh, games like loteria, and we try to embrace our culture too within this activity. But we also celebrate the active or the cultural activities that the United States has, like Fourth of July, and both at the same time. Because we're here and but we have our culture inside of us, but we're also living in another country that it's been amazing to us.
Wonderful. I know like a lot of our students who are looking for volunteer hours that's important for them to know about. Yeah, we're getting to be at time, but I wanted to ask you, Julieta, is there anything that I didn't ask you about that you would like to share while we have this time together?
Let me see what I've shared so much. Uh, but for me, I want to share something that has helped me a lot. Always follow your highest passion every single day.
Mhm.
I know there was days that were a little bit confused, but you will have a highest passion from everything you decide. Always follow it every day. What
Mhm.
is that thing that made you feel good that day? And
Mhm.
then follow it, and you always be on the right path. That's how you follow that. It doesn't, you don't have to stick to one thing. So things change so much so fast. But as long as you always find that thing that makes you happy every day, you're on the right path. And that thing will probably lead you to the thing that it's waiting for you out there. And don't stick to one thing because that's what I do with one community. I put in my passion in my heart. And although the work, it's a lot of work, working with the community, it could be a lot. But I always follow my highest passion every day and look at the mission. What's the purpose of this? And that's what keeps me going, looking at the kids and seeing, you know what, I'm making a difference here and I want to make a difference. And it's not about because I've been through it and I just want to kind of try to I don't know, share what I've been through and it works. It worked for me.
Mhm. I love that. I love your emphasis at the end on looking at the bigger vision, the bigger mission, the bigger picture. And I think a lot of us who are invested in making a change and um, we acknowledge that a lot of this inequality is just systemically rooted in
Yeah.
this country and in other countries, whenever you begin to learn about how rooted it is, it can be very discouraging but
Hmm.
there is no pressure on one person to fix it. And we're connected to
It's
people
so
who came before us
yes.
seamlessly. antepasados, antepasadas,
Oh,
antepasadas,
yes.
the people who will come before, like after us too, you know, we were doing this for
Yep.
them too.
For
So
them
it's
as well.
yeah, I love your emphasis on looking at the
The big
overarching
picture.
vision.
Yes. I
Hmm.
think we could do it. We will do it on our time, and then we leave it to the rest to continue the work.